gotta be doing something with this stuff. You gotta be gaining more. No matter how much you have, don't get discouraged if you're not, not on the high end, right, of having emotional intelligence. You can always grow. There's always room for growth. You can always put these things into practice, right? The things that we're saying, putting them into practice, and then challenge yourself, right? Look at yourself, self-awareness. Where am I right now, and where do I want to be? Hannah talks a lot about goals. She talks about goals a lot, and I love it because when you set a goal, you can set a
measurable,
measurable goals. Then you give yourself something to get to, right? You are able to motivate. You give yourself a motivation to grow more. So yeah, definitely don't get discouraged about where you are. But if you are on the high end, don't think that there's no room for you to grow. We all need to be practicing these things, putting these things into practice, so that we're prepared when situations come up in which these things could be used in our favor. Hello. Welcome back, everyone. It is Speaking with Gravity. I am Joshua.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah.
And what up? I'm Terrence.
And we are your hosts of Speaking with Gravity. We're still in season 9. We're, 5 episodes in? I think this is our 5th episode. I believe 4th or 5th episode. We getting there. We're getting there. So great pace. Been really interesting so far, and I think we got another really interesting one again for you today. But I think that what the people want to know from you, Terrence, I think that kind of actually leads us into what we're going to be talking about today. So we'll let you start us off, man, please.
Yes. Back with another.
What the people
want to know. I got to give the people what they want. They
want it from you,
and they want to know: do women really want emotionally intelligent men?
Good question.
What we think?
Let's ask one.
I want an emotionally intelligent man. However, I do recognize that sometimes I have to grow as a woman to meet the expectations and the needs and the wants of a man that is truly emotionally intelligent. However, I have not ran across or been introduced to a lot of men that are emotionally intelligent. It is a rarity to me. It's very uncommon.
The ones that are. Have you been introduced to ones that are?
Yes.
What's your experience been like with them?
Challenging, simply because an emotionally intelligent man is going to motivate you, and he's going to motivate you to become a better woman emotionally. And as a woman myself, and as women species, we are already naturally emotional, and sometimes that doesn't look healthy. Sometimes that is unmanageable, So already being an emotional species, having a structured man come into my life and say, hey, like, these are areas you need to improve on emotionally to be with me, that can be challenging. However, I think it should be a two-way street. I can recognize some areas that he needs to improve on as well, and we can have those discussions. But it is challenging because it encourages you and somewhat forces you to look at your weaknesses and become better.
I definitely think it's a two-way street. But to answer the question, I think women do want emotionally intelligent men, but question is, are they ready for an emotional intelligent man? Because like you said, the emotionally intelligent man is going to let you know how he feels, whether you like it or not, right? And that's not saying like he's trying to bash you for anything. He's trying to communicate what's going on with him emotionally, right? So he's going to let you know these things, and you have to be ready to receive that and not feel like it's an attack on you.
Right.
No, it's just me as communicating with you about my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had experiences where women have said that they want that, and I give that to them. But then again, like I said on previous episode, it's overwhelming. They take it like it's an attack on them, attack on, like saying they're always the problem. It's like, no, I don't need you to do anything about what I'm saying, but I do need you to hear me. Mm-hmm. So I think women want it, but they have to be ready for it at the same time and knows what comes with it.
And in general, we have lived in a society, for so long, men have had to suppress their emotions, and they have had to suppress how they feel, and not have the safe space to express how they feel internally. So with this transition to men, I'm not saying that men have not formerly been emotionally intelligent, but what I'm saying is now it's more normalized for a man to express their emotions. I feel like that transition is needed, and it's challenging as a woman. It is challenging.
With it becoming more prevalent or, you know, more normal for men to express their feelings or to express some emotional capacity, with that, when we're seeing men that aren't quite there, where women might want them to be, how can women address that in a healthy way to help that man up?
Can you ask your question one more time for me?
So you mentioned that, you know, that's becoming more normal in men, that emotional intelligence, showing, you know, capacity for emotional intelligence. So if you have a man that's not quite there yet, what can a woman do to help him get there, but in a healthy way, right? Without saying, hey, I need you to be this, like, hey, you falling short on this, why you don't think, you know, what's a healthy way to help him get there?
I can think of a couple of ways a woman can help. The first way I can think of is by being a role model. If you are a healthy, if you're in a healthy state of mind, and if you are a healthy, emotionally mature woman, then you can model that through your actions and how you respond to situations and how you communicate that, hey, this is what emotional intelligence looks like. So I'm going to model that. Another way that a woman what a woman can do is create a safe space for a man to be vulnerable. You know, if he's not able to be vulnerable in his workplace, he's not able to be vulnerable around his guys and friends, if he's not able to be vulnerable at the gym and different, you know, spaces that he goes into, where is he able to be? You know, where is the safe space for him to be emotionally expressive? And then the other method that I can think of is by being direct and acknowledging how the man is not being emotionally mature. But with that, you have to be very sensitive and empathetic in how you convey that message, because what you don't want is for someone, man or female, you don't want them to take defense and say, you know, well, I don't operate and I don't express my emotions because I was never taught. You know, you don't want them to automatically take defense to what you're saying simply by identifying ways that they can improve on their emotional intelligence.
I think also another thing is, you know, acknowledge what they're doing right. Because one of the things that, you know, I think comes up with a lot of men is sometimes they feel like, oh, I can't do anything right. You know, I'm always wrong, and they get down on themselves because they. So acknowledging, I see that you're doing this, and I appreciate that. Right? Men would appreciate hearing that a lot more, because it's always feel like there's a lot that's on them.
A lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure that's on them, and they're trying to, you know, always meet that pressure. But at least someone sees that they're trying and acknowledging what they're doing can help create that safe space.
Yeah. Beautiful. I think this kind of leads us into the cutie of the hour. You want to?
Let's do it. With it. So the cutie of the hour is a quotable data or another version of a fun fact that you can share with individuals you know. So today's quote says, "Did you know that research suggests that emotional intelligence can be a stronger predictor of success than IQ?" I'll read that one more time. Did you know that research suggests that emotional intelligence can be a stronger predictor of success versus IQ? Studies have shown that individuals with high emotional intelligence tend to have better social skills, make more informed decisions, and experience greater overall being. Millionaires have high emotional intelligence. And this comes from one of the sources that we'll list.
You know, it made me think about that quote, it's not what you know, it's who you know. If you're good socially, if you can get around socially, if you got high emotional intelligence, sometimes that's the predicting factor. That's to me, that quote speaks directly to what you just read.
I agree, and I just want to spend some time discussing the difference between IQ and EQ. So IQ is what we know to have the ability to think. What is your IQ score? being able to get through school, not being able to have either a high Q level, and this cannot be earned. However, EQ, which is emotional intelligence, is the ability to feel versus the ability to think. Emotional intelligence gets you through life. Emotional intelligence can also be learned. And let's see. IQ, which is relating to logical reasoning, cognitive functioning, your memory, how you're able to comprehend things, your math skills, your spatial thinking, and this can be influenced by your genetics. And on the opposite side, your emotional intelligence, this is identifying, perceiving, and regulating your emotions through a couple of different domains. So we talk about self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills, like you were saying, Joshua. And there's no standardized test that says, okay, this is how emotionally intelligent you are compared to IQ. You can take a test and receive a score and say, okay, my IQ level is, high, or it's medium. There's no standardized test for emotional intelligence.
Beautiful. Yeah. So today, and so that's what we're talking about today, right? What is emotional intelligence? I think you really broke it down in a way where we can see the contrast in it between emotional and intellectual. So we're talking about what is emotional intelligence and why it's important in our personal and our professional lives. And earlier we talked a little bit about personal. To me, we definitely get personal when we're talking about relationships. First of all, to me, when we talk about emotional intelligence, my thoughts are that it's intelligence that allows you to kind of navigate emotional terrains, such as relationships, attitudes of self and others, difficult decisions, mistakes, problem solving, conflict resolution, all those type of things, right? But being able to navigate those from, what isn't always going to get you there, right? But being able to navigate those is so important. So, like I said, you brought up those contrasts to that intellectual knowledge, and I'll tell you what, somebody who got both is really dangerous.
Very dangerous. In my opinion, I am striving to gain a great sense or a great interpretation of both my IQ as well as my EQ, my emotional intelligence. And this reminds me of, we talk about people that are book smart versus street smart. Well, this is a similar analogy. We have people that are book smart when it comes to taking tests and math, science, that logical side of things. But then the opposite of logic is emotional. And like you said, a person that has both logic and emotional intelligence is very dangerous. But how can we earn that emotional intelligence? It's very difficult. And I'll speak personally, what emotional intelligence means to me is how we're able to, and I'm going to use the word you use, navigate certain spaces. How are we able to interact with people? How are we, and let me go back. How do we interact with ourselves? How are we self-aware? How do we know our own, traumas and our own situations, our own triggers? How are we self-aware? It always starts with yourself. And then emotional intelligence to me is how we interact with the people around us. Somebody that is strictly book smart may not be able to interact on a very social level because their IQ is so high. So they're thinking so logically about things. This person is looking at me sideways. Whole time that person just wants to come and talk to you. So there has to be some type of balance between your IQ and your EQ. And when it comes to emotional intelligence, it's so important to just be in tune with who you are as a person. And sometimes that means facing hard truths about yourself.
Yep. And a lot of times, when I'm, speaking with clients and stuff, I ask them a question, and before they can even think about the question, the first thing that come out of their mouth, I don't know. You ain't even put no thought into it. So I think that goes back to what you said. Number one, the emotional intelligence starts with understanding yourself. So that self-awareness piece, because if I can understand some of the things that causes me challenges in life, some of the things that probably, gets under my skin a little bit. If I can understand what that is, I can then put words to it.
Yeah.
And then if I can put words to it, I can then explain it to you, or, first explain it to myself, then explain it to you and other people so that you can try to understand. And then once I understand myself and some of these different things that cause me different challenges in life, I can then work on improving my own self-control with it, right? So, but it all starts with you understanding yourself and how, I like to say, how your own system works and how you can navigate your own system. And that's really trying to put words to it so you can communicate and show up differently or show up in a better way, more emotionally intelligent to other people.
So one thing you brought up, Hannah, earlier was self-awareness. When we was talking about emotional intelligence. Another one that you brought up was self-regulation. Can y'all, I guess, kind of break that down for me? And self-regulation. I have an idea, of what that concept kind of speaks to.
Which one? Regulation or awareness?
Self-regulation.
Self-regulation.
All right. When you think about that song "Regulators" came to my mind. I'm sorry.
Nate Dogg.
Exactly. Okay. Well, when you think about regulate something, it means to, in a way, level out, right? So if it becomes, unbalanced, a regulator will bring it back to balance. So pretty much self-regulation is how can you bring yourself back to balance. So, okay, somebody makes me upset. I get angry, so I'm out of balance. So what am I going to do? And that kind of goes back to the episode we talked about building that your own coping kit. Well, how can I cope in order to regulate myself back to balance? And that's very important. But in order to bring yourself back to balance, I think it's very important to understand what triggered or what caused the unbalance before it caused you to become unbalanced in the first place. So that's where the self-regulation piece come in for you, in order for you to learn how to self-regulate to come back.
Just kind of like self-managing, kind of.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I heard you also mention, and I think what comes with self-regulation is how you're able to control your emotions, not just in public, when people are watching, but how are you able to control your emotions when you're in the room by yourself and things really hit deep?
That's it.
Are you going to punch a wall? Or are you going to say, I feel mad right now? That is regulation. And it all comes back to being healthy versus unhealthy. And I also heard you mention self-awareness. I was spending some time on my phone looking for, in therapy, we often use emotions wheel. And what I was spending time looking at the name of this specific emotions wheel, but I couldn't find it. However, it is simply various emotions. And it all starts with core emotions, such as happiness, joy, anger, sadness. And then from those core emotions, the developer, he expanded to show you more emotions that are categorized under happiness, more emotions that can describe the feeling of sadness. For example, under the category of I feel sad, you can also feel despair. You can feel betrayed. You can feel depressed. So I feel like a large part of self-awareness is being able to articulate what emotion you're feeling in that exact moment so you can understand how to deal with it.
Yep.
Y'all both been speaking on that, being able to talk about it, articulate, that communication piece.
That's a big,
being able to talk it out.
That's emotional intelligence.
Talk about how you're feeling and how you feel about something else.
Yeah.
And able to receive how someone else is feeling.
Able to receive, yeah. That's a part of communication too, right? Being able to receive,
It's a two-way street.
Because a lot of people can't receive it very well. Because we as people, we internalize a lot. So if I was to come to you and say, I'm feeling this way due to maybe something you've said or something that you've done, if you don't have a high level of emotional intelligence, the only thing that you heard was, I was a problem to why you're upset.
Yeah.
That's what you heard, because you internalized everything or most of what I said. So you consider yourself to be the problem. That's not what I said.
Right.
I'm just communicating how I'm feeling. Again, I don't need you to do anything about it, and how we move forward. So I'm trying to work with you. I'm not trying to blame you at anything. And when you have two people that has maybe a high level of emotional intelligence, you can work together and you can understand that other person is not attacking you. They're just expressing themselves to try to work with you. So it's a collaboration when you have two emotionally intelligent people in order to help with, like you said, self-regulation, self-control, things like that.
And shout out to one of our producers, the one and only Curvin. He brought up the picture of the feelings chart. So if you want to Google feelings wheel, created by Dr. Gloria Wilcox, Wilcox. Hopefully it comes up in Google. But some of the core values are surprise, happiness, sad, disgusted, angry, fearful, and bad. So those are just a couple of the core emotions that we experience. And as a child, you may ask a child, how do you feel right now? And they may say something very basic. I feel happy. I feel sad. I feel mad or angry. However, as we become more emotionally mature, we're able to categorize those feelings more in depth and more specific. Oh, not only do I feel happy, but I feel accepted. I feel powerful. I feel valued. I feel courageous. So those are just some examples of being able to be self-aware of what emotion you're feeling in that moment.
And listen, God blesses us with different gifts, right? Some people are really smart, some high on the IQ end. Some people are high on the EQ end, right? Some naturally, and then some people aren't. So some people have to work on these things. Even if you are high on that chart, you need to be working, because what you don't use, you'll lose, right? What you don't use, you'll lose. It remind me of a story about the man who had I think it was 3 men. They was given different talents. One was given 5, one was given 3, one was given 1, something like that. And you had 2 of them. They multiplied their talents. They brought more back to the guy who gave him the talents. Then you had 1. He just put his up. He didn't do nothing with it. You gotta be doing something with this stuff. You gotta be gaining more. No matter how much you have, don't get discouraged if you're not. Not on the high end, right, of having emotional intelligence. You can always grow. There's always room for growth. You can always put these things into practice, right? The things that we're saying, put them into practice, and then challenge yourself, right? Look at yourself, self-awareness. Where am I right now, and where do I want to be? Hannah talks a lot about goals. She talks about goals a lot, and I love it because when you set a goal, you can set measurable. Measurable goals. Then you give yourself something to get to, right? You are able to motivate. You give yourself a motivation to grow more. So definitely don't get discouraged about where you are. But if you are on the high end, don't think that there's no room for you to grow. We all need to be practicing these things, putting these things into practice, so that we're prepared when situations come up in which these things could be used in our favor.
And that reminds me of another component of emotional intelligence, which is motivation. You know, if you're a person that is so stuck in feeling groupy and feeling down, and you don't have you're not an optimistic person to recognize that there is hope in the situation. Just because you're going through a bad situation or challenge right now, if you're just so fixated on the bad and you don't have the emotional intelligence to look at, okay, there's some good in the situation, that motivation lacks so much. And over a period of time or over a lifetime, it can be very detrimental if you don't tap into that emotional intelligence and that motivation to want more, to strive for more, to reach those goals like you were mentioning.
Well, how does someone increase their emotional intelligence? How does that work? What do you guys think?
One way, one thing that you can do, and you might not even be looking at it as increasing my emotional intelligence, but one thing that you can do is, and it helps with communication, is listen twice, talk once. I think you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So that's definitely one. Listening and not being so ready to respond. Not listening to respond, but actively listening. That helps you with effective communication. That's gonna elevate your conversation. So that's one of the ones I would say. Scoping out situations and details before you just jump into stuff, I think is important. People so often just getting stuff down on the context or nothing like that. That's definitely not being emotionally intelligent, right? You don't even know what you're talking about. So not just hopping in stuff like that, and taking ownership. I think in situations.
That's a big one. Ownership.
So of course the person could have been. It could have been a situation something went wrong. Somebody else could have been 90%. What they did could have led to 90% of the problem, but you still had 10% in there. Okay, owning up to your part of it, even if the other person not willing to. You taking the initiative and owning up to my 10%. Well, I was wrong in this way. right? And hopefully they'll own up to their part too. But if not, you're practicing your own emotional intelligence on your journey.
I agree. And what also goes along with active listening, that's exactly what you described. And us therapists call it active listening. So not just listening to respond, but listening to comprehend and understand that versus person's viewpoint, whether you believe they're right or wrong. And in a lot of situations, if you have this mentality, okay, this person can either be right or wrong, we're already putting ourselves inside a box versus expanding that emotional intelligence and recognizing neither one of us may be right, or we both may be right, but how do we discuss and talk about this so that we can have a median? Another tool to developing emotional intelligence is asking questions and, listening to constructive criticism. If other people, if there's a pattern of people saying, oh, you lash out when you get mad,
there you go.
And your parents told you, oh yeah, Billy always lash out. He always punches the wall every time he gets mad. We just patched him up. And then and then you enter, college and your roommates say, oh yeah, I don't want to make him mad because he's going to lash out and punch a wall. Then you enter romantic relationships and you still hear your romantic partner saying, oh, I'm afraid to make you mad because I know that you're going to lash out. Are you listening, to that
Billy
constructive?
Billy's strong.
Are you listening to that constructive criticism and more so inquiring about those patterns that other people see in you? Emotional intelligence comes with the good and the bad.
Yep.
We can be healthy and identify, these emotions we're feeling, but are we able to comprehend when other people are telling us, okay, you got some patterns and some actions about you that are related to your emotions that you may need to improve on.
Getting defensive.
Yeah, that's the one main thing that I was definitely going to say is one thing that to help you understand if in order to increase your emotional intelligence is to learn your own patterns, whether those are good patterns or patterns that are not so good that you can improve on. The good patterns, of course, you want to do more of them. The patterns that, such as Billy hitting his wall, you might want to chill out with that, Billy. So it's watching patterns, and I tell my clients that all the time. I'm trying to ask you questions, and I want you to maybe even record some of these different things that you've noticed or things that's causing you problems throughout the day, so we can figure out patterns. If we can figure out a pattern, we can figure out how to break the pattern. So I think that's one of the things that you can do to increase your emotional intelligence is to keep track of different things that's worrying you, makes you anxious, makes you sad, depressed. So now that you can figure out a pattern, and so you can work on those patterns.
I think other components that adds to understanding and developing your emotional intelligence is how well you adapt to change. What I've recognized is that individuals that have high emotional intelligence, they're able to recognize change, recognize that this is abnormal, or this is very different from my routine, or how I normally conduct things, and how am I going to move forward. They have that motivation, that empathy, in certain situations, and even the social skills to understand, okay, who do I need to talk to, what resources do I need to reach out to, so that I'm okay, or so that me and my family are okay. So the ability to adapt to change. Something else that I've recognized is it just lost my mind, so I'm gonna have to come back to it.
It happened to me last episode, I believe. So ain't nothing wrong with that.
I be messing y'all up when I be like, that's a good one, or I be like,
no, I don't think that's it. So
it just so much going on.
Like kind of like when we be in church. Amen.
Amen. Like, dang it, man.
I done messed it up.
Okay, I remember what it was.
There you go.
So another component, or
Amen,
something that I've recognized that is so important to emotional intelligence is the ability to apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come on, huh?
Yes. It's something so basic, it's something that can be so basic, but also so difficult at the same time. And, there's different levels to apologies. Some apologies are simple and some are very complex. If you really messed up, then that deserves a complex, a more in-depth apology. And then, your ability to apologize definitely determines your level of emotional intelligence. People that have low emotional intelligence, they're not quick to apologize. They may not even recognize that they're wrong in the situation. Low emotional intelligence. On the opposite end, somebody that has high emotional intelligence, they're going to recognize what they did wrong in the situation. They're going to recognize how it impacted other people's emotions, and then they're going to take action to apologize, and more so actions to change their behavior.
And they want to recognize. They want to.
it.
Some people don't even want to.
Right.
I don't want to know what I did
Low emotional
wrong.
intelligence.
Yeah, because I don't want to deal with that responsibility
I wish I had some
of addressing that.
Because when she just clicked that thing, she said, click.
She did it a couple times.
I
Didn't
know.
And so,
she? Yeah. Go ahead,
Low
make a beat
emotional
for us. Oh, another one I think, man, we got a lot of good ones on it.
Yep.
Y'all got a lot of good ones. I'll say this. So the name of this episode is, well, the topic for it is understanding your why. I think taking time to ask why, I think is a good one. That's been a good
that's
one
the
for
best
me.
one.
Right. So why am I doing this? Why is this person doing this? Not judging. That's another one, judging. But why is this person doing this? Why is this the way that it is? Taking time to really ask why. That's another one.
that's very important. And what I heard from that is, what I've recognized is that who teaches you emotional intelligence? Oftentimes, you develop it as a child. If you have emotionally mature parents, and they're going to teach you how to adapt to change, how to acknowledge your emotions, how to not suppress your emotions and express those emotions in a healthy way. But on the opposite side, if you don't have parents that have taught you emotional intelligence, you're responsible for learning it, on your own. And one tip to do that is to go to therapy. Therapy, we're here to advocate for therapy. It's a resource to learn that emotional intelligence. And I have a resource if individuals that did not grow up with emotionally mature parents or did not understand what the value of emotional intelligence is. There's a book called Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, How to Heal from Distant, Rejecting, or Self-Involved Parents. And it's by Lindsay C. Gibson. It's a very common book in our field of therapy. And it is also on Amazon. So that's just another resource for you all.
Beautiful. What's the name of the book? One more time.
Yep. Let me go back to it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, How to Deal with Distant, Rejecting, or Self-Involved Parents. And what I've recognized is that individuals that may have grew up in maybe a toxic environment or maybe an emotionally immature environment, they can grow up to become what their parents were without changing. It takes that black sheep to change, and that's very difficult. That's very difficult, but the last thing you want to do is continue those generational cycles of constantly being distant, constantly being rejecting, constantly being super critical. That emotional intelligence just stays low. Generations to generations to generations.
You got to break the cycle.
You got to break the cycle. Yes, sir.
Break the cycle. Break them chains.
I'm all about this intergenerational trauma stuff, y'all. So, yeah, it's definitely a cycle that persists if it does not take that one person to change it, right? I mean, it does take that one person to change it. So if that one person do not change it, then these cycles are going to continue to persist throughout the generations. And it's not easy to do by any means, but it's definitely worth it by doing it. So,
Yeah. Anything else that y'all would add to this beautiful conversation? I know one, Hannah, early on in the conversation, you mentioned like 5 fundamentals. I feel like you hit all of them. I think one that we didn't, and we could just hit it real quick. One that we didn't say too much about is empathy. Is empathy. Can one of y'all speak to empathy?
Yeah. Empathy is just to me, being empathetic towards someone is just showing them that you understand, right? Because I feel like people, they want to feel seen, they want to feel heard, they want to feel understood, right? If people feel seen, heard, and understood, that's how you create that safe place for them. And that's how you start to have them, show them what emotional intelligence looks like, so y'all both can be in that same space. So that's how I would touch on that and feel like it relates.
I agree, yeah. Being an empathetic person to me means able to just listen and create a safe space, like you said, Terrence, creating a safe space for somebody else to be emotional, whether that's healthy or unhealthy, allowing that safe space for them to show their emotions and for it to be, a structure in a safe space. But more importantly, how do we grow? If I'm sitting down with a person that's very emotional and, I'm being empathetic and understanding why they're, super stressed out or super depressed or, super mad right now, how do I create some type of stability to say, okay, thank you for expressing this to me, but what do we do from here? Understanding that person's perspective and also offering some support and alternatives and treatment options. So, yeah.
Nice.
Just accepting and embracing that space is very important.
I love it. How y'all feeling?
I feel good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel good.
Beautiful.
And I just want to recognize that emotional intelligence can impact so many different areas of life. Family, your workplace, your friendships. The more we develop our emotional intelligence, the more obviously emotional intelligent we will be, but the better we interact with other people. And as a result, what I've seen in my personal experience, the better I interact with people, I get my desirable outcomes every time. If I recognize that I'm going into a situation, I already know how to maneuver and how to navigate that situation, like you were saying, in an emotional intelligent way to get my desired outcome from it.
Yep.
That's become one of my favorite words. You know that? It's
Navigate.
I love that word. I love the word. I got one for you. Emotional intelligence builds bridges between people in your family, in your work, in your life. You may have to be the one to do it, and if you're emotionally intelligent, you should do it.
That's right.
You should do it.
It takes one person. It takes one person, and I'm a testament to this. It takes one person to step outside the box and say, let me figure out what this emotional thing is going on.
Yeah.
Because I used to be a very emotional person without no regulation, So I had to step outside and recognize, okay, how can I build my emotional intelligence? And as a result, it has positively impacted my community and the people around me. Yep. So it just takes one.
Just one.
Be that person in your relationship. Be that person on your job. Be that person in your community. Be that person in your family. And you'll build bridges, right? You'll make for a better community, a better relationship, a better just all around situation for yourself and for others. I love it, y'all. Great episode. Hannah, you've been rocking it out.
I was thinking at the minute. I was like, dang, she just been
Hannah,
going.
You've been rocking it out this season, man. Listen, we're going to put your face on the, you got to be on.
I might be emotionally intelligent, but I'm also still an introvert. So.
Okay. Well, we're going to honor that.
I definitely appreciate the acknowledgement, but I think we've been doing a great job as a team, and I just appreciate you all as well.
No, thank you. Like I said, you've been on fire, so I'll just let you go.
And shout out to our behind the scenes technicians, Winston, the guy behind the camera. Shout out to him.
Come on now. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Look, get it right.
Y'all see what I deal with.
So thank y'all for joining us. It's been another enlightening episode, enlightening journey into the world of emotional intelligence.
Yes.
We hope that you've gained some valuable insights and some practical tips to enhance your own emotional intelligence skills. Remember, understanding and managing emotions is a lifelong journey that can lead to more meaningful connections, building those bridges we talked about, improved communication, a happier and more fulfilling life. Don't we all want that?
That's right.
We all want that.
Better quality of life.
Most definitely. So stay tuned for episode 6 as well as the following episodes for this season number 9.
Season 9.
And listen, until next time, take care and y'all stay emotionally intelligent.
Stay
Speaking
blessed.
with Gravity.
Peace.
Woo.
Yay.
Good job, y'all.